Hello students, welcome to 𝑯𝒑𝒑𝒓𝒐𝒂𝒄𝒉. This is Murali, your faculty for history. So in this video lecture, we'll discuss about the approach and strategy for history for UPSC examination, which includes both prelims and mains, right? So in this video, we'll discuss what is history and what about history in UPSC examination and how prelims and mains examination of Union Public Service Commission, right? So here we'll see the approach. See, as far as history is concerned, so we can subdivide that history into different sections. As you know already, that it can be divided into ancient history, that is ancient India, medieval Indian history, modern Indian history, and art and culture, which is an integrated part of that, and as well as post-independent India and world history. These are areas which makes the part of syllabus of your examination history, right? So which includes ancient history, medieval history, modern history, art and culture, post-independent India, and world history, right? So see, generally among the students, there is a perception, there is a general perception with respect to history. What is that perception among the students? That is because history is a boring subject, history is a vast one. You know, for studying history, you need to remember a lot of dates, years, a lot of names of kings and queens. So actually this is a general perception which runs in the minds of the students. But however, that is not a right thing, because obviously history is very much different as compared to that particular general perception. Here you no need to remember any specific or you no need to emphasize more on remembering, rather than will study in the conceptual manner as compared to other subjects, so that automatically you will remember all the required dates and details of the history throughout from ancient to modern times, right? So how to do that? So we'll discuss that in detail, how to deal with the history, all these aspects. So these are the subsections of history for your examination. And however, for prelims and for mains, obviously the syllabus is comparatively different, because for prelims we have to deal with certain sections, and for mains we need to deal with other sections, right? To concentrate for prelims was ancient history, that is starting with the prehistoric period to age of Harsha. Then after, medieval history starts, which starts from advent of Muslims into India, that is in the 8th century, and it ends till the end of Mughal rule in India. And modern history, which obviously we consider it as a beginning of or advent of Europeans into India, that is in the 15th century, and it continued till 1947. And as well as art and culture, which is an integrated part of this all entire aspects. So art and culture we cannot see it is as a separate subject, obviously it is a part of all these three above aspects, right? So these are the areas of focus for prelims. And coming to mains, again there will be some changes. So for mains, so obviously again here the ancient and medieval, which is already mentioned in the prelims, is included in the mains as well, right? And as well as modern Indian history, which is also part of prelims, is also included in mains. And here additionally to ancient, medieval and modern India, here we will have an additional topic like post-independent India, that is which starts from 1947 to which we mostly deal till 1980s. Okay, so that is especially consolidation of India, integration of various states into India, so that makes the part of land reforms, those makes part of post-independent India. So apart from that, we also have to deal with world history for mains as well. So especially in world history, so it's not about entire world history you have to read, only certain aspects, certain topics only have to be discussed. So such as Industrial Revolution, American Revolution, French Revolution, various political and economic theories like socialism, capitalism, Marxism, Bolshevism. So these are the various ones and as well as colonization, decolonization. So these are the various areas that we have to cover under world history part. So as I already mentioned, art and culture, which is integratedly read throughout the history, that is from ancient to modern levels, and apart from this, theories or various philosophies taught by various historians and as well as philosophers like Rousseau, Voltaire, Karl Marx. So these are the various areas which has to be dealt for mains examination. So with this we can clearly understand that with respect to history in UPSC examination, so this is the entire syllabus. If we see in a comprehensive manner, this is the entire syllabus, whereas if we see examination point of view, that is for prelims, this is the syllabus, and for mains, this is the syllabus, right? So this is the syllabus for UPSC in history in UPSC examination. But however, we need to understand what need to be focused, right? See, obviously, so how to approach for prelims, how to approach for mains. Prelims and mains are two different ball games. Obviously, we have to have different strategies for prelims and different strategy for mains. So we cannot mix up both. Obviously, mains examination is a answer writing examination, whereas prelims examination is a objective based examination, right? So we'll see how to deal with prelims with respect to this particular syllabus, right? See, obviously, as you say, it itself is a vast syllabus. So that is, in prelims you have to deal with ancient, medieval and entire modern, and which includes art and culture as well, which is a vast syllabus. But however, in our classes we'll go in a more sophisticated and comprehensive manner, such so that you can understand each and every topic. Will link up each and every, that is, will link up ancient with medieval and medieval with modern, and as well as art and culture of it, right? See, particularly if you take ancient history, so here the focus areas must be very few areas, that is prehistoric period. So in that also we have to focus more on Neolithic age, right? Then after coming to Chalcolithic ages, you focus will focus on Vedic civilization, which includes early Vedic India and as well as later Vedic India, right? So then after we'll focus on rise of Magadha, and then after we'll focus on Mauryan Empire, that is Mauryan administration, right? And then after we'll focus on Gupta era. Okay, so basically if we focus on these areas, especially prehistoric period, that which includes Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic ages, and Chalcolithic period, in under that Chalcolithic period we'll mostly concentrate or emphasize on Indus Valley civilization. After civilization, that is advent of Aryans into India, so the early Vedic period and as well as the later Vedic period, right? And post that we'll emphasize more on rise of Magadha, especially in the area around Bihar. So Magadhan Empire, particularly Mahajanapadas were combinedly formed, and among them the Magadhan Empire became more powerful, and it produced various powerful empires from that region, which among Mauryan is a very important one. So we specifically deal about Mauryan Empire and especially its administrative aspects, right? And after Mauryan we'll discuss about Gupta and as well as Harsha period as well. Apart from this, we'll also deal with some of the South Indian dynasties and Sangam age, which is very so in the end focused on which needs to be and will them very sophisticated comprehensive manner, so that you can understand each and every in detail of these topics, so that which are very important of prelims, right? So we focus more on initial advent of Muslims in India, right, and as well as foundation of Delhi Sultanate and foundation of Mughal Empire. Okay, so these are the only three that will focus more on. What are they? So advent of, that is starting with the 8th century. So starting with 8th century AD and till 11th century AD. So that period we will discuss separately. And then after, with the beginning of 13th century CE, so Delhi Sultanate was established, right? And then after, in the 16th century CE, so Mughal Empire has been established. So administrative, economic, political, social and cultural aspects. That's it. So if you focus on these areas, so see, history particularly for UPSC examination is not about understanding the political lineages or political setup or remembering various kings and queens. It's not that. Okay, so for examination, to understand history throughout these levels, you need to focus on their administration, you need to understand the economic structures of those periods, and you need to understand socio-cultural aspects of those different time periods. So only these are the areas on, and rest of the areas out of these can be easily skipped. So particularly with respect to this Delhi Sultanate and Mughal Empire, you focus only on administration, their economies, their social aspects and cultural aspects, right? And that is all about medieval India. So coming to modern, so important part of history syllabus for UPSC examination. So especially here we will deal with advent of Europeans and as well as socio-religious reform movements and predominantly Indian national movement 1945 to 1947. So you may think that we have written no, here specifically deal with only few areas of, we will concentrate on British, especially from the time period of 1599 to 19th century, where they brought various administrative, economic and political reforms in India, right, which were continued even till now. The setup of parliamentary system which were introduced by the British even were continued post. So similarly, we have to focus on socio-religious reform movements, especially in different parts of India, starting with Bengal and as well as Western India and as well as southern part of the country. So in these three regions, different socio-religious, which includes religious reform movements and caste reform movements, so which has been started, so we need to emphasize on them. And most importantly, you need to focus on Indian national movements, that is from the beginning of establishment of Congress, that is Indian National Congress, to freedom movement, right? Okay, so that is 1947. So these are the areas that you need to emphasize on history, particularly for prelims examination. So in the approach part, you need to focus only on those areas which I have just mentioned, right? So that is for prelims examination. So coming to mains exam, obviously as I already mentioned, we will add few more topics, especially post-independent India and world history, right? And as well as various associated theories, right? So post-independent India, again, so you may think that post-independent India we have to start from 1947 and we have to read till, obviously even though the period is this much, obviously in this period you focus or you have to emphasize only on certain aspects, especially early integration of India, early consolidation of India, land reform movements, so which occurred in 1950s and 60s. So emphasize on those areas. So those are the areas where UPSC is gonna ask in the examination, right? Similarly, world history. So as I already mentioned, in the world history also focus only on areas of colonization, especially in South Asia and Southeast Asia, and decolonization as well, which happened 1950s. Various revolutions that occurred in Europe, especially Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, and as well as if we move into America, then American Revolution. So these three revolutions which are very important for examination. So if you focus on those areas, your syllabus is done. Okay. So but the thing is, here we have discussed about the syllabus areas need to be emphasized on, but emphasizing on these areas is also as important as how to emphasize or how to approach these topics, right? So that is most important thing. Obviously, for prelims perspective, you need to, since it is an objective based examination, obviously you have to practice as many as MCQs, because see, history is very important subject in entire UPSC examination process. Okay, because for suppose let us take prelims, you will get nearly 18 to 22 questions in the prelims out of 100 questions. So that means it lies anywhere between 18% to 20%, right? So that means nearly you can get, on an average you can get 40 marks out of 200 marks in the prelims, which is almost according to the nowadays trend, it is almost equal to half of the cutoff marks, right? So that means that is the major chunk that history plays a role in the prelims examination. Similarly, history plays very crucial role in getting good marks in GS1, because obviously here also nearly 75 to 90 marks out of 250 comes from history section. Here I did not include society part. If you include society part, it makes even more. Okay, so 75 to 90 marks, that is nearly 6 to 7 questions will, out of 20 questions will come from only history, right? So that depicts the importance of history in both prelims and mains examination. So that's why you need to emphasize on this subject very importantly, and as well as within that you have to emphasize only on those areas which are important for examination. So but for understanding those areas, you need to go through various previous year question papers, especially both for prelims and mains. So on the basis of that only, I have already mentioned those areas which needs to be emphasized on. Okay, so if you concentrate on those areas, so obviously you can catch the trend of UPSC, how questions were asked in the prelims examination, how UPSC is asking questions in the mains examination, on what topics, on what areas the UPSC is focusing on, particularly for prelims and mains. So then you can understand easily by going through all the PYQs, at least last 7 and 8 years, right? So in this way, history can be dealt easily. So it's not a subject which creates or which produces nightmares for the students. Certainly it is not. So that's a general perception every student might be having, but certainly it is not. Obviously it is a very interesting subject and can be easily dealt with. Okay, because but for that purpose, what you have to do, you have to read in a comprehensive way, read in a more sophisticated manner. You need to know what to read and what not to read. You need to know what areas to be emphasized on. So if you do these things carefully, obviously you can easily deal with history and ultimately you can get very good marks in the examination, both for pre and mains as well. So that's why I used to say history can make or break your papers, right? So be focused for this particular subject, and if you go in an appropriate approach, go with a proper strategy, obviously you can get very good marks, right? So we'll deal with this particular subject in a very comprehensive way in our series of lectures. So stay tuned to our lectures.